Together, they sacrificed everything to send their daughter to the university. They sold their small piece of land, borrowed money from cooperative meetings, and ignored the mockery of neighbors who doubted them. Their hope was simple. One day, Sandra would change their story. When Sandra gained admission to study mass communication, the entire compound celebrated. Her mother danced with joy, declaring that her daughter would become a big woman and speak on radio one day. Sandra promised to make them proud, but once she arrived at school, her life took a different turn. Sandra was not just intelligent, she was breathtakingly beautiful. Her smooth skin, curvy figure, and radiant smile drew attention wherever she went. In lecture halls, men whispered. In the cafeteria, eyes followed her. By her second year, she no longer wanted to live in the hostel, calling it too local. Soon, one admirer rented her a fine apartment off campus. Another bought her a new phone, and Sandra began living like royalty. Her mother often called to check on her, asking if she was still focused on her studies. Sandra always replied that she was fine, even as she painted her nails and scrolled through messages from men offering her money, trips, and gifts. It was during this time that she met Chief Obi, a wealthy local businessman. He was loud, simple, and unpolished, always dressed in wrappers and slippers, with a booming laugh and broken English. He wasn't the kind of man Sandra wanted to be seen with, but he had what she loved most, money. Her friends teased her for dating him, but Sandra laughed it off, insisting she was only enjoying his money and could never marry such a man. Chief Obi adored her deeply. To him, Sandra was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He bought her everything she asked for: phones, wigs, gold jewelry, shoes, and even a small car. He paid her rent and promised never to let her suffer. Behind his back, Sandra mocked him, never realizing how deeply he loved her. Life felt smooth and exciting, and she completely forgot the promises she had made to her parents. One morning, everything changed. Sandra woke up weak and nauseous. The smell of perfume made her sick. At first, she thought it was malaria, but when the feeling persisted, she bought a pregnancy test. Sitting alone in her bathroom that afternoon, she watched as 2 red lines appeared. Her hands trembled and her heart sank. When she finally told Chief Obi, she expected anger or fear, but instead he rejoiced. To him, the pregnancy was answered prayer. To Sandra, it was a mistake. When her parents found out, heartbreak filled their home. Her mother cried for days and her father was furious, but there was nothing they could do. Chief Obi came with drinks, yams, and palm wine, knelt before them, and begged for forgiveness. He promised to marry Sandra properly and take care of her. After she gave birth to a baby girl named Ada, Chief built her a fine house in Asaba and moved her in. From the outside, Sandra seemed lucky. She had money, comfort, and a man who adored her, but inside she felt trapped. Chief Obi loved her gently and patiently, never raising his voice even when she disrespected him. But Sandra felt irritated by everything about him: his laughter, his clothes, his simplicity. She believed she was too young, too beautiful, and too educated to be tied down to a local man. She missed the attention, the parties, and the admiration she once enjoyed. Slowly, she grew cold and distant, avoiding her husband and withdrawing emotionally. Only her daughter Ada brought her brief moments of joy. As time passed, Sandra began sneaking out, dressing and living like a single woman again. When Chief questioned her, she snapped at him and accused him of controlling her. He never argued, only lowered his eyes and accepted her behavior with sadness. One afternoon, while Ada played outside, Sandra packed her belongings quietly, left a short note behind, and disappeared without looking back. She told herself she needed freedom and a fresh start. At first, life felt exciting again. She moved to the city, sold some of the valuables Chief had bought her, and returned to parties, pictures, and laughter. Her friends welcomed her back, praising her courage for leaving a local man. But the excitement didn't last. The men she dated came and went, the money finished, and the friends who once surrounded her slowly disappeared. Bills piled up, rent expired, and Sandra began selling her belongings one after another until she was left with nothing. Lonely and broken, Sandra spent many nights crying, remembering the life she abandoned. She thought about Chief Obi's kindness and her daughter's laughter. Hunger and regret became her daily companions. Her once glowing beauty faded, replaced by exhaustion and shame. Eventually, she returned to church, sitting quietly at the back and praying for forgiveness. One Sunday morning, she made up her mind to return home and beg for another chance. When Sandra arrived at Chief Obi's house, she stood at the gate, afraid. She no longer looked like the proud woman who had left years earlier. Her clothes were faded, her hair unkempt, and her eyes heavy with regret. When the gate opened, she saw Chief Obi standing there, looking healthier and at peace. Behind him stood another woman, holding Ada. The sight shattered her completely. Sandra fell to her knees, begging for forgiveness and asking to come home. Chief Obi listened quietly. Though his eyes were filled with emotion, his voice was calm. He told her he had forgiven her, but he could not take her back. He had remarried, and his new wife had stood by him when he was broken. Out of kindness, they gave Sandra food and some money, reminding her that she would always be Ada's mother. As the gate closed behind her, Sandra felt the full weight of her choices crash down on her. That night, Sandra slept in a small lodge, staring at the stars and praying sincerely for the first time in years. She finally understood that pride had cost her everything. Beauty fades, pleasure ends, and attention disappears, but a good heart and true love are priceless. Sandra learned too late that peace is greater than pride, and that sometimes the greatest blessings come in forms we fail to appreciate until they are gone.